Now, if you're looking for a crystal ball to see what your business will look like in a year from now, let me tell you that I can provide you with something that runs in parallel with it. It's called creating a sales forecast. Yes, I know that doesn't sound quite as exciting as an actual crystal ball, but we're talking about business here, not magic. So let's get the point. However, if you think about it, sales forecasting is basically like sprinkling a little fairy dust on your sales plan. Okay, I promise that is the end of the magic metaphor. With a sales team forecast, you'll get a detailed prediction of what an individual salesperson, sales team, or your entire organization will sell in a given time period, weekly, monthly, or annually. It gives you a picture of a future you can then build off. Want to know if you'll have enough sales to back that new product development or market plan? Check the sales forecast. Want to get investors excited and take on additional funding to fuel your growth? You got it. Check your sales forecast. In fact, according to research from the Aberdeen Group, companies with accurate sales forecasts are 10% more likely to grow their revenue year over year and twice as likely to be at the top of their field. Let's see that one more time. Sales forecasting isn't just about checking off the boxes, filling out spreadsheets, and keeping investors happy. Sure, you can learn the basics from the best sales book out there on the subject, but in the end, sales forecasting is all about having the right information and foresight to drive continuous growth. It's also an important metric to make sure you're not falling off track. Let's say you see your team is off target from your forecast by a significant amount mid-quarter. Your forecast lets you identify that issue and course correct it before it becomes an issue that becomes out of your hands. Now, before you get scared, remember that anyone can put together a sales forecast. You don't need a degree in maths or accounting to put together your sales forecast. When it comes down to it, sales forecasting is really just educated guessing. And as a business owner or sales leader, you are in the best position to make that guess. So let's bring a little magic back into the seemingly dry topic and discuss the realities of sales forecasting, different methods that you can use to do it, and which one is the right to kick off your company into growth mode. Now, what resources and tools do you need to accurately forecast your sales? Making good business decisions depends on good data. So to start forecasting, you need to gather the right assets. Start with these. Individual and team sales goals. What does success mean to you and your team? Start by defining realistic goals that work well with your overall sales strategy. Now, your detailed sales process. What are the repeatable steps you can take to move to a potential customer from prospect to a client? How long does it typically take? How often does it work? You can't experiment and grow if you don't start with a solid foundational sales process. Now, moving on to the next one, standardization definitions of leads, opportunities, and closes. This might seem obvious, but the complexity of the business might mean there's some confusion around when a lead is a lead, opportunity, or prospect. Nail down these terms so everyone is on the same page when they're reporting. Now, information on product costs, expenses, and potential market or price fluctuations. Again, it depends on what you are selling, but know the costs of doing business and keep your ear to the ground when it comes to the market. Your forecast is an educated guess. Remember, keep it sharp. Now, show me the money data. Knowing where money is coming from and where it's going is central to an accurate and successful sales forecast. If you have any concerns about this, take your time but get your data in order. On top of all of these, you'll want to make sure to keep an eye on internal factors that could drastically change your forecast, like adding or removing salespeople from your team or changing policies that will affect the way your sales team works. For example, changing your incentive programs or upping commission on certain sales. There are also external factors you need to be aware of, such as changing economic conditions, competitor advances, legislation, or even the seasonality of what you're selling. A basic rule of thumb is when there are changes to your sales team, update your forecast. Now, there are a few sales forecast methodologies that I would like to suggest, and you can follow any one of them which deems suitable for you. So, let's get our hands dirty, shall we? Now, there are many different ways to look at your sales and come up with a forecast, and each method will depend on the information you have, the results you want to know, and how confident you are in the information you have. Let's break down a few different modern methods of sales forecasting, explaining which situation will be the best to be applied so that you can choose what's right for you. Let's start with lead-driven forecasting. Now, what exactly is it? Relationships are the heart and soul of sales, and the lead-driven method relies on understanding the relationship your leads have with your company and what they're likely to do based on that relationship. In essence, we are analyzing each lead source and assigning a value to that source based on what similar leads have done in the past. So here's what you need to get started. Leads per month from the previous sales cycle, leads to customer conversion rate by lead source, average sales price by source. So who is it for? If you've got some data to work off and a steady stream of inbound leads, the lead-driven model is a great starting point. However, it's susceptible to changing sales cycle, marketing efforts, or changes to the market. Now, if you don't have clear data already on your lead sources or historical acquisition data, you will have a hard time creating an accurate forecast with this method. So, let's have another alternative, shall we? Moving on to opportunity stage forecasting. The opportunity stage method takes your sales pipeline, chops it up, and assigns a percentage value to each method based on how likely a lead is to close. So, a new prospect might have a 10% potential close rate, whereas someone who has gone through a product demo might be at 80%. Then you pick a forecasting method, monthly, quarterly, yearly, and multiply each deal's potential value by where it is in your pipeline. So $2,500 deal that's gone through a product demo is worth $2,000, 2,500 into 80%. So who is it for again? You need a good set of historical data to use this method accurately. So if you're starting out, it's probably not the right one. The opportunity stage data also doesn't take into account the age of a lead and assigns the same value to a prospect that's been humming and hawing for 5 months as it does to a hot new lead. So while it's relatively easy to set up and will give you a quick picture, it probably won't give you anything too close to a bullseye. So we'll solve this issue also. Now, test market analysis forecasting. This method is great if you're rolling out a new product or service and want to get an idea of what your sales might look like. As the name implies, this method involves doing a limited launch of your product or service and then analyzing the response. Using that number as your base, you can then make an accurate forecast on the response of a full rollout. If you're a large company rolling out a new product without any concrete market research, or a startup doing a soft launch to gauge interest in your offering, this is a good way to get a read on the market through real sales. Since we're mainly dealing with startups and encouraging you for those, we would suggest that this would be a good place to start. However, launches are notoriously expensive, so it doesn't come cheap. Please do keep that in mind. Plus, not all markets are the same, and what happens in one territory might not be what happens elsewhere. So you'll have to keep all those factors in mind and then move forward. Now, moving on to multivariable analysis. As you can probably tell by now, the previous methods have their own pros and cons as we've discussed and deliberated. The multivariable analysis method, however, takes the best parts of all these forecasting methods and puts them together into one complex analytics-driven system. Now here's an example using data from the lead-driven, opportunity stage and sales cycle methods we've discussed earlier. Let's say you've got two sales reps hustling the same or a similar amount. The first one is working a $10K deal and has just finished a successful product demo. Now, based on your rep's individual win rate for this stage of the deal, your multivariable analysis says he's 40% likely to close the deal this quarter, giving you a sales forecast of $4,000. Your second rep is selling a smaller $2K deal and is earlier in the process, yet their win rate is through the roof, also giving them a 40% chance of closing the deal this quarter and a forecast of $800. Your total sales forecast at this point for the quarter would be $4,800. Now, while the example I used was incredibly simple, in real life the numbers rarely work out like that. Accurate forecasts based on multivariable analysis involve an advanced analytics setup that might not be in cards for startups with a smaller sales budget. Also, you need clean data. So if you don't have sales reps who are diligent about tracking their deal progress and activities, this won't work out. Sales forecasts. So now sales forecasts are basically what will keep your startup alive and know you have the resources to go after big leads or take on to new team members. Whether you do the opportunity stage sales forecast or multivariable, at the end of the day, this is what will give you a very good idea about how your future is going to look like. So start wherever you can, even if that's just asking your sales team what's in their pipeline and whether or not they think they'll close. It might not be accurate, but it'll get the ball rolling. Like all aspects of your sales strategy, your forecast will constantly change and evolve. Revisit it regularly, update it as the market grows and changes, and be ready to take advantage of whatever the world throws at you. That's the only way to survive in today's world. Thank you. That's all for this module.